Slift, Ilion album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this kind of new album from Slift. It's been out for like a month now. I am sorry, but if you don't know, they are a French psychedelic rock and progressive rock band. They've been at it for a few years now, and up until recently, I had no idea that this band even existed. However, a couple of friends of mine have been really pushing me to get into their stuff, mostly due to just my long time love of classic psychedelic rock and modern garage psych and heavy psych. And I sat down with their 27 EP, Space is the Key, and overall I did enjoy it. It reminded me a lot of, the psychedelic rock and garage rock that I was listening to at the time. It reminded me very much, especially of the California sort of garage psych sound, which threw me off guard, but I was definitely interested, even though I thought the songwriting was a little spotty at times. But with 2018's La Planète Explorer, honestly, I thought this was, much more of a compelling listen from start to finish. This, my brothers and sisters, is a great psychedelic rock album. It picks up, it takes off, and does not slow down for about 40 minutes. It's freaky and strange, but it's also really confident of a record, and I commend that. And their follow-up album, the Oman album, from a distance, I certainly did worry just because of the length of this thing. Not to mention, in the past, I feel like with genres like this, the modern style has not been so good to these overly long albums, but I shut myself up really quickly because this thing is great. It really does show the band pushing themselves on all angles, which leads me to this kind of new album. It's been out like a month, and I am sorry that it's taken me so long to review this record. But, when it comes to, things that aren't on my calendar, on my radar, I'm always interested in trying new things if I can fit it in. And in this case, I'm absolutely going to fit this in because this gargantuan record is pretty freaking good. This album starts off with its title track, Ilion, and honestly, right off the bat, one word, it's epic. In the sort of heavier stylings of psychedelic rock, this is some of the most triumphant and urgent material I've heard from like any genre in any band in a while. It just starts building from the word go, and it doesn't start between these scratchy, wiry, thunderous riffs and these tortured group vocals. Now, let's address the rather large elephant in the room right off the bat. This is a big album. This is a gigantic, long album. It is 8 tracks and an hour and 20 minutes. And this is an 11-minute intro. So I feel like if you don't like the direction of this opening track, you probably won't like the rest of this album. But it is epic. It is hazy. It is surreal. Also, it is pummeling. I mean, yeah, this is definitely a heavier psychedelic rock sound, but this thing is literally attacking you from all angles. Everything from the thunderous riff to the walls of really great production are just so impressive. Sonically, this sound is amazing. And the desolate, ambient later moments of this track are scratching all the right itches. This is a really great intro. Nimh, on the other hand, is bulkier and heavier and twice as busy, which I didn't think was possible. No, this is once again an all-around attack on your ears, but my God, does it sound great. Not to mention, in the year 2024, to see a band like this actually do progressive things in progressive rock and progressive metal is shocking to me because, God, progressive rock's been rough. It also has a serious urgency to it, which is something that this genre and these genres that are affiliated with this honestly have lacked for quite some time. Now, once again, long album. This is another 10-minute journey. I mean, of the 8 tracks here, there's only one that's under 6. But Slift do a really great job of keeping things interesting, keep pushing the envelope, trying new ideas, really pushing themselves as well. And this track just keeps rolling until we get another really ambient, spacey, electronic-based section that is really desolate and really, really telling. We also have the words that have never been heard. This is another monolith of a track. 12.5 minutes, baby. I hope you have your stamina built up. It starts off rather pensive before blasting off into an all-around attack, but I love the walls of Heavy Psych riffs and the fist in the air, metal vocals. It's great, and I would also argue that this track has some of the more melodic moments on this album. The spacier moments as well, and doubling down on that. While this is a little bit more melodic and a little bit more cosmic at the end of the day, there ain't nothing light about this. This is just as heavy. The vocals here I love especially because they come off almost like this group chant. It's powerful. And the seriously long and intricate cosmic jam that we get here is invigorating, honestly, really skillful. Every instrumental that we get here is just so intense, from the looming bass to the cosmic synths. It's so intense all around. And the most shocking thing about this track, and a lot of this album, with these 10-minute tracks, or in this case a 12.5-minute track, nothing comes off bloated. Nothing comes off full of itself. Which I never thought I would be able to say again, especially with just how god-dead progressive rock and progressive metal is. Ugh. And Confluence, no joke, this track gives me the chills, may be my favorite cut of the album. There is a mysticism to this track that is so intoxicating, it gives me the chills. You could say that about a lot of tracks on this album, the very mystic vibes of it, but I would argue that it does not come off more clear, more crystal clear than on this track here. And the transition from this track's opening to another liftoff, just intense, just intricate jam is done so well. By the time this track does pick up, the woodwinds go from mystic and chilling to straight up hellish and tortured. Yay! There are hellish lows and honestly shockingly bright highs as well. This is my definition of a journey, and not a single second of it is wasted. So I will say this about this album. Is it worth your time? That's kind of up to you. I mean, this is a very long, heady album, and if you're not into these genres, this may not save it for you. But if you have your stamina built up and you are into these genres and you can sit through a pretty beefy album, there's some pretty wild, game-changing material here. I do not have a lot of bad things to say about this album. One of my biggest issues, though, and I know that this might piss some people off, is with Weaver's Weft. This is the most somber tune of the album, but I would argue that other tracks do this aesthetic a lot better. But I don't know, I'm kind of middle of the road on this track. Some of the crashing riffs that eventually come in sound sadly out of place. I mean, the jam element of this track is not bad. I'd say it's on par with where this album has been so far. But outside of that, this is kind of a mishmash, and I don't get the same invigorated feeling after listening to this. And Enter the Loop as a finale, I'm kind of middle of the road on this. I don't think it's a bad track. I mean, for one, it is probably the most suffocating and most atmospheric and dense track here. I mean, it's heavy. It's also the shortest track here as a finale at 5.5 minutes. How nice of them. But I hate to be that guy. While this track is not bad, it's incredibly safe. I mean, the aesthetic to this track is divine and exactly where I wanted to hear the finale of this album. In a lot of ways, that's fine. But the issue here is it doesn't progress. And this has been an album where progressive rock and progressive metal has actually shown up quite a bit. It's just really underwhelming, especially when you look at the other truly great ideas here. Outside of that, though, I am truly impressed, and if you are a fan of the heavier side of rock, you should be giving this a listen. Like Uruk, for example. If you're looking for a pensive, more somber tune from the band, I think this comes off a lot better. This track just sounds so sinister at the end of the day, the way it just plods along. And it also leads to some of this album's truly most cosmic moments, and it's done really well. And on top of that, it is truly hellish. I mean, this track gets heavy. But there are also constant moments of release on this track that are almost euphoric. And the story that has never been told, I hope that you all like synths, and a lot of them, because there's quite a bit on this track. This is a swirling, epic track from the word go. It's another truly dystopian, vivid cut that goes for 12.5 minutes. But my eyes are glued. I feel like I'm watching a super twisted A24 dystopian psychological thriller. Now, I will say this, the vocals that we get here are on the lighter side for this record. And if this kind of showed up on a track like Weaver's Weft, I think I would have been a lot more negative towards it, but I think that in context with this track, it works. And miraculously, over 12 and a half minutes, this track and most of this album does not overstay its welcome. For the most part, the hype is 1,000,000% real on this album. Slift have taken the sounds of modern psych and heavy psych and fused them with progressive metal, stoner metal, and more, and created a very game-changing next-level album in these genres, which we haven't really seen in a while. But yeah, this thing is long. It's 8 tracks, an hour and 20 minutes, which is not going to be for everybody. That's kind of why this review took as long as it did. But if you're into the heavier sides of rock, you're going to want to hear this, and you might be blown away. Hell, this might be an early contender for Album of the Year for you. But for now, I'm feeling a very decent 8 on this album. But let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.